Hey people, this episode of BLD BeatDown was originally released the day after the WWE's first ever greatest Royal Rumble in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Now, it was a 22-minute video just looking at what happened during the course of that contest, and within that we had a 4-second clip. 4 seconds, tiny clip. In fact, not even a clip of the action, it was a GIF. It was a screen grab of the WWE's official page of a GIF of Titus O'Neil tripping over, being swallowed up by the ring. And the WWE put a copyright block on it, and the video was taken down by YouTube after 2 days because of this 4-second clip, a GIF. Now, the reasoning behind that is, you good people out there, once you've seen that 4-second GIF, which apparently isn't available to anyone, even though it's on their Twitter page, which you can view worldwide. So not available to anyone? I think it's available to everyone. And once you've viewed that GIF, which you can see not just on Twitter, but just about anywhere else in the world, you're not going to want to watch the greatest Royal Rumble. And that's the reason why our video was taken down. So for that 4-second GIF, as opposed to a 5-hour show, well, obviously it's going to put you off watching it, isn't it? So I had no choice. That video's had to come down, and this is the re-edit. So what I've done, we've got a new intro here, and it is, those of you who've already watched it, thank you ever so much for watching it before. You don't have to watch it again. And for new people, welcome aboard. It's a lot of effort went into making the original video, so I felt that we couldn't just let it drop completely. So this is a new intro without the Titus GIF of that length. And it's just me and Ninja Boy giving our considered opinions on what happened at the greatest ever Royal Rumble. Hey people, welcome to episode 22 of BLD BeatDown, and today it's the review of the greatest Royal Rumble ever, but they didn't have room for all the evers. It was quite a big night in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and I have to say, it was quite an enjoyable night, if only for some little moments that just raised it above the normal standards. Some of them planned, some of them not so planned. The best one being what will probably turn out to be not just the best WWE GIF ever, it could just turn out to be the best GIF ever. Just Titus O'Neil's ring entrance for the greatest Royal Rumble as he came lolloping down and he took a bit of a tumble and the ring just swallowed him up. Just swallowed him up. It was fantastic. I must admit, I have watched that moment so many times already, and it's less than 24 hours since it happened. I don't think I'm ever going to tire of it. So if you've not seen the Royal Rumble, I'm sure you've seen that GIF by now. With the greatest Royal Rumble, the latest and the greatest Royal Rumble. But let's go through some of the bouts and give you our opinion, and then we'll give a score at the end and see if you agree or disagree with our opinion. Let us know what your thoughts were down below. Right, Ninja, if you would like to pull up the list so we can go through fight by fight.
First we had the match that was pretty much to get the crowd going. John Cena versus Triple H.
It was interesting seeing these two old stagers right at the start, milking the crowd, getting the best out of them, just pausing and waiting for a bit of fan reaction. They were the right two people to put on, weren't they? They're old pros, they knew what they were doing. The only thing that was a bit of a surprise was the winner. I think we both had, did you have John Cena? No, yeah, we both had Triple H to win that one. My reasoning was I thought they were going to bring Cena sort of way down and then let him build up to WrestleMania next year to get that 17th world title. Could still happen, obviously. But yeah, it was a bit of a surprise for us, that one. But it was a nice way to start. And as I say, it got the crowd going. There's a lot of them milling around to begin with. They just needed to sit down and sort of soak in a bit more of what was going on. But yeah, nice way to get us going for the evening. Next up, Ninja. Oh, sorry, next up, Nerd Ninja. Oh, Nerd Ninja, you were going to give an opinion. I'm so sorry. Nerd Ninja, what was your opinion?
According to my calculations, they played the crowd well.
They did play the crowd well.
Put on an alright match, especially for two men of their age. And surprised.
The youngsters, they're mere youngsters.
To you, mate.
To me, yes, totally. Right, next up.
Next up,
we had the Cruiserweight
Championship.
Now, this went pretty much the way I expected. Cedric regained the title. I didn't expect it to happen any other way because he's only just recently been given the title. He won the title, not been given, and he just recently won the title. And it was perhaps the quieter moment of the evening, but it was a good decision not to start with it because it was like I thought it was going to be a yawn or a sneeze. I didn't know what was coming then. There's all sorts of things could have happened. So it was okay. It wasn't a bad bout. Well, it was not one to get the crowd too excited because I'm sure they didn't quite know who was fighting. But it wasn't a bad bout. Still enjoyed it. Ninja?
It was alright.
It was alright. Okay.
The end was kind of cool.
Next up.
Next
Well,
up.
why was the end cool? Tell us why you thought the end was cool.
Well, because Kalisto went for the sleeve del sol and then Cedric did lumbar check.
There you go. You see, it does have an opinion, and it was a very well worded and quite eloquent opinion. Right, next up.
Next up, we have the Raw Tag Team Championship match.
Yeah, which was a bit of a nonsense.
The Bars, Sheamus and Cesaro against the Deleter of Worlds, Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt.
Bray Wyatt, indeed.
Yeah, Bray Wyatt.
We, again, predictions ahead of this fight were, what's the point in the Bar winning back the title from the programme they've now left? It just wouldn't have made any sense at all. And quite true to form. And as expected, it was a win for Mr. Hardy.
The expedition of gold was complete.
And Mr. Wyatt. And next up, God, would it not be easier if you just kept the list over here? I'll hold it for you if you're worried about
The
me.
US Championship match, Jeff Hardy defending against Jinder Mahal.
Right, didn't last too long this one, thankfully, but I'm very happy with the result. Again, as we'd called it, I think we both said Jeff Hardy, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
So no big surprises there. The crowd sort of responded a bit to Jinder Mahal in a he's a villain kind of way. It was quite interesting. It was not bad. It wasn't bad. I would say one thing at this stage. We normally find, particularly, I watch the pay-per-views live, but they tend to be here in the UK. They're like 1 AM to 5 or 6 AM. Then I watch them on a replay with Ninja here. And there does tend to be a bit of winding going on, winding forward going on during these PPVs. And I have to say, we were commenting beforehand about how there were no women's matches and it was really unfair on the ladies not being given a chance. But it was interesting. I don't know if this was deliberate or not. We weren't winding through anything. Well, we actually watched it live.
That's because we couldn't.
But we weren't pausing then. We weren't like pausing and going off and making a cup of tea. Or doing anything. All right, you weren't falling asleep or playing on your iPad or doing things like that.
Well, I'm joking.
Yeah. So yeah, interesting that. Right, next up.
The SmackDown Tag Team Championship match: the Usos against the Bludgeon Brothers.
The Bludgeons. Again, Ninja's about to get his own bludgeonary hammer into action. Again. I don't really know how to phrase this any other way. It went to form as we'd expected. It was as we'd called it. The thing with these bouts, though, is they were still entertaining. Even though most of them went the way we expected them to go, it was still good fun. There was still plenty within them to enjoy. So yeah, that was okay. Next up, Ninja. Come on, mate.
Whoa.
I've got to whiz through this. People don't want to be sat here for hours.
We've got now Championship ladder match, Fatal 4-Way. Seth Rollins defending against Finn Balor, The Miz and Samoa Joe.
It was very entertaining. One of the matches I was really looking forward to. Perhaps, I don't know, it didn't quite live up to what I was expecting throughout, but it had its really good moments.
Focusing?
It had its really good moments. Very much the ending as well, the way that Seth leapt off the top rope onto the ladder that Finn Balor was already occupying, about to take the title. And Seth just beat him to the top of the ladder and grabbed the belt, fell to the ground, the victor. So that was good, that was cool, I was happy with that.
He fell to the ground, the Seth.
Hello. Next.
Next, the WWE Championship match. AJ Styles against Shinsuke Nakamura.
Now this was a surprise. This was a surprise, not because they didn't live up to expectation in terms of what they could produce for the crowd, but the fact that AJ Styles kept his title. In fact, the two of them were counted out of the ring, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Just tell us what happened there, Ninja.
Nerd Ninja, thank you. According to my calculations, it was a double count out because AJ Styles was beating up Shinsuke Nakamura.
There was a bit of revenge beating going on there, wasn't there? He didn't really care much about the match.
Also, Shinsuke did a low blow when the ref wasn't looking.
Yeah. AJ Styles obviously knew that if they were disqualified, he wasn't going to lose his title.
Okay,
so he just made the most of it outside the ring.
Champion's advantage.
Yes. Next up,
We have the casket match.
yes.
Rusev against the Undertaker.
Again, not good knockabout stuff. Again, went the way we expected it to go with Taker. You couldn't have a WWE legend of his standing for all these years there on this kind of mission to preach the word of the WWE out in Saudi Arabia. You couldn't have him losing, could you? And it had its little moments. The usual, he's Taker down. No, he's just sat up, and little interruptions going on. But it was fun. It was good stuff. Quite enjoyed it.
They made him Tombstone in English because Rusev's too heavy.
Yeah, we did comment on that. We thought
Nerd Ninja.
Aiden English ended up being tombstoned, and I think Taker does look a bit wobbly these days when he's got people in position, hasn't he? And I think Rusev would have just been a bit too much to handle. That'd have been too much Bulgarian to handle, I think. Right, next up.
Next up, we have the steel cage match for the Universal Championship. Brock Lesnar defending against Roman Reigns.
Bit of controversy here. So a lot of people on Twitter not happy with the result, and not so much.
Botch.
Yeah, botch Lesnar. Not so much because of the fact that Lesnar retained, and I didn't particularly want Roman Reigns to win anyway, but that's a completely different story. It was the way in which it ended, in that Roman Reigns speared Brock Lesnar through. Yes, well, it was the steelness of it onto the floor, but Lesnar was actually still on the square of the cage. At no stage had any of him actually physically touched the ground because his back was obviously had the cage underneath him, whereas Roman Reigns fell to the side and his feet and everything else were on the floor. And by the rules, it's the first man whose feet touched the floor. And Lesnar's feet were in the air. They weren't even close to the floor. So the WWE officials there, whether it was a botched ending,
Definitely.
or whether, well, who do you blame then? Do you blame? You can't really blame the wrestlers. You've got to blame the guy who rigged up the steel cage to break in that certain part because it's not broken properly. Or
you could blame Roman.
Well, you could.
Because he speared at the wrong angle.
Could blame Roman.
Because if he came like straight on, whereas if he came from side, Lesnar would have fallen out there before Reigns.
Right. That sounds a bit too much to try and calculate in your heads as you're flying through the air. Well,
Not for Nerd Ninja.
The bottom line is, it does give WWE, there is an out here, of course, because they can have Roman Reigns going on about how he was cheated out of winning the title. So I'll just keep that going for what it's worth. I have to say...
It's worth a waste of another match.
Yeah, I have to say, I really did just want to see the title go to Roman Reigns because I just don't want Lesnar to have it anymore. He's a part-timer. He's a part-timer, he just doesn't turn up. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed. I was a bit disappointed with that ending, I have to say. The only other thing I would add is Lesnar spent a lot of time on the ground, and it looked like he was a bit short of breath. And even when Paul Heyman was, escorting him out, and Heyman was like had a big grin on his face, he was still like holding his elbow in place, as if he might have hurt a rib there, might have bruised a rib, might have even cracked a rib. That's
what.
Something worth keeping an eye on the news the next couple of days.
When he got speared, the cage was going into his back and the landing.
Yeah. So there's the initial moment of impact of the spear, but then as Ninja said, when he fell, he did fall sort of high on his back, and that could have.
It's not like it's a low height.
It could have winded him, but
because, of course,
he was in discomfort. Brock Lesnar's not the sort of man to feign injury for too long.
He won't send injury.
So
like that.
it'd be interesting to see, as I say, these next couple of days, if a story comes out saying that he did actually pick up a bit of an injury. So after all of that, that teed us up for
the greatest
Rumble. 50 WWE superstars. Although some of them, it's a bit of a loose description, but more or less 50 WWE superstars.
And in at number 1, Daniel Bryan.
And he was facing, from the outset,
number 2, Dolph
Dolphy
Ziggler.
Zig. Now,
Boom.
there were some lovely touches in this Royal Rumble. I have to just point out at this moment that one of us did predict the winner. It's not bad out of 50 people. Not bad out of 50 people.
I probably would predict the same person if I knew that
coulda,
there was
woulda,
a
shoulda.
title belt.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Anyway, oh, what's a low blow. Anyway, just to point out a few things that are worth looking out for. There's a new record. Daniel Bryan obviously didn't win, but he set a new record for longest time in the ring in a Royal Rumble.
1 hour, 16 minutes and 5 seconds.
Well remembered. And of course, that's unlikely to be beaten until...
Thanks to Ninja.
Until the next Greatest Royal Rumble, because you don't have Rumbles of that size. So even Rey Mysterio had the record, which
1
was...
hour, 2 minutes.
He's a walking encyclopedia of WWE stats.
Walking nerd.
Yeah, that of course was against 3 people. So to have 50 people in the ring, you're going to need that amount of people in the ring to come close to matching Daniel Bryan's record, but also come in probably at number 1 or 2 and last virtually all the way to the end. So that record could stand for some time. So nice to see him back with something notable. The other notable thing, as I was going to mention, and Ninja Boy's just referred to, was the rope burns on his chest and like under his right arm, under his bicep and tricep, in fact both sides of his arm. Just it looked like he'd been stung by the world's biggest jellyfish. It's just like plastered in scratches and burn. It was just, I'll tell you what, he wouldn't have been doing any sunbathing. Probably wouldn't have wanted to put on a t-shirt after that either. So there's Daniel Bryan. There's that fantastic moment that I mentioned at the start, which was Titus O'Neil lumbering into the ring, and just before he got to the moment where he was going to launch himself through the rope, he just kind of stumbled over his own feet and went flying underneath the apron of the ring. Just saw his feet sticking out the bottom, and he scrambled back out. But what a moment! What a moment! Absolutely love it.
That notable moment
was
Hornswoggle.
Great cameo
Probably
performance.
the best scripted moment.
Yeah, great cameo performance from Hornswoggle. Lovely to see him back
elimination.
in the ring.
Samoan drop on Kofi King.
But yeah, that was amazing. So there's a good bit of fun to be had there. And generally, I mean, it was a bit predictable as we got towards the end. We knew Shane McMahon hadn't come out. We knew Kevin Owens hadn't come out. So we knew that was going to be a bit of a rivalry just being visited at the end. Oh, the great Khali. What was that all about? The guy can barely walk. It was just ridiculous.
I am going to take ages to get to the ring.
He's less agile than Frankenstein's monster. It's just... so...
I will get you.
That was possibly the one where we were like, what? What's he doing? Yes, I think they get the idea. Come back.
It's the great Khali.
Yeah, well, it'll take you 4 days if you're going to walk with the pace of the great Khali. And then, as I mentioned, the winner, Braun Strowman, really pleased for him. The trophy looked as big as Braun Strowman, it has to be said. They're going to have fun getting that through customs. It'll probably need its own private jet to fly it home. Yeah, there won't be room for Vince, so just need to take the trophy back to the States. But overall, it's one of the most entertaining pay-per-views I've seen for some time. I think they've actually given themselves quite a tough task now.
Better than WrestleMania.
Because it's obviously close to WrestleMania. It's a 10-year deal, so they're going to have to do this. There's got to be 9 more of these over the next 9 years, obviously. But so close to WrestleMania, they perhaps need to give it a bit more thought and put it on later in the year, because WrestleMania, obviously the planning that needs to go into that and all of the plots that you have sort of culminating there, they've got to suddenly come up with all this new stuff for the Greatest Royal Rumble, and it's and not including the women as well. So you've got sort of less to work with, so to speak, because there's fewer stories to work with. So it's going to be a tough ask to match that next year, I think. I know they went out it's all guns blazing, the right expression when you're talking about going to I know they had to make a good impression and do the best that they could and get as many people involved as they could. But I just think they've given themselves quite a high standard to try and follow.
I've just realised one bit of a cringy bit we didn't...
Oh, the cringy bit, yes. What's the cringy bit?
We didn't say was the 4 tryouts.
Oh, gosh, yes.
There was Hussein.
Nasser.
I can't
remember the other 2 guys. It was. I mean, you know why they had to do it, because they were trying to keep the local crowd happy. And very obviously there was going to be a couple of people thrown in the ring to just get beaten up. But it was just a bit corny, wasn't it? And some of the commentary lines, where they're going on about how fantastic Saudi Arabia was and what they were doing, and humanitarian acts they were carrying out and trying to look after society, and we didn't need all of that, but it was obvious why it was there. Obvious why it was there. So what are we saying then? Marks out of 10. You can have a half. You can have a half. Half's allowed.
Can we have quarters?
No, that's ridiculous. You can have a half.
Can we have 10?
Marks out of 10 for the greatest Royal Rumble.
Can we have 600s?
You can have a clip round the ear.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay. 8.5.
8.5. Ninja Boy, am I right in saying that is the highest mark you've ever given?
Then again, I've only given like 3 marks.
Are you sure? We've done quite a lot of marking at the end of these tournaments.
We have?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, I know I have, because I was doing it for a living as well at one stage, so maybe it's just all in the mists of time, just all merges into one in my head, I don't know. For me, I was tempted to give it more than what I'm about to say, but I like to give myself some wiggle room in case we get an absolutely spectacular show comes. I'm going to say 8 out of 10.
That's what
I would just qualify that and say that I believe, if memory serves, that's the highest mark I've ever given a pay-per-view. Because there's large chunks where you're like, oh, that we could have done without that, or that doesn't work, or what have you. But I generally found the whole thing entertaining, so I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Without it, of course, being spectacular. There wasn't like an absolute stunning fight. There wasn't like some really memorable fighting moments. The memorable moments we've come up with are someone tripping over and Hornswoggle doing a little cameo thing. So it's kind of, on the actual fighting front, it's lacking a bit. That's why I'm saying 8 out of 10. That's my verdict. So let us know your verdicts down below. What did you think? Did you find it entertaining? Were you winding through? Did you find bits that you didn't think came up to standard? Did you miss not having a women's match? It was actually quite refreshing, just powering through all the men's titles. I'd say nothing against the women wrestling. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, as an entertainment, as a show, I found it quite cool. So there we have it. Yes, as I was saying, let us know in the comments down below your views. You might as well give us a score. Give us a score for your GRR score down below. You can have halves. So it could be 8.5, could be 6.5, could be 3.5. Who knows?
Apparently you can't have quarters.
You can't have quarters or tenths or 600ths or any other number he wants to come up with. Yeah, so there we have it, people. Thank you ever so much for watching. Sorry for waffling a bit there. You know the score with YouTube, with the liking, the subscribing, and the media, with the Instagramming, and the Facebooking, and the Twittering. Until we see you next time, you stay cool.